So this week, Dom and Her, Italy, is going to be here. It starts on Friday night. It's called The Use of Alchemy and Rituals at Dom and Her. And when we were at Dom and Her, Cher was with me, and Patty, who's not here this morning, was with me. And they were doing a ceremony of the oracles that night. And it was really, we saw them all dressed up and everything, and they're going to talk about how they use alchemy and ritual at Dom and Her in their daily life. So I think that's going to be great on Friday night. And then we have the Alchemy School basic course Saturday from 9 to 6, and then Sunday from 1 to 6:30. And a gentleman from Dom and Her is, I don't know how to pronounce his name, I think it's Regno. They all take new names at Dom and Her, like Trigrilla is Gardenia. So they all, her quality and her classes are music of the plants, and she goes all over Europe and all over the world, really showing people that plants have a consciousness and that plants talk. She did that last time she was here. So anyway, we're going to do the Alchemy School Saturday and Sunday. I just can't wait. And she'll be here next Sunday morning too. And then also on Thursday night we have Amazing Woman, Cher Kistler's Amazing Woman, Crystal Beach at 7 o'clock, and it's awesome. It's empowering women, and if you're looking for a group of women, Cher has done a phenomenal job of bringing women together to really support each other. So it's a drum circle this Thursday night. You want to say, get up, Cher, and say a little bit about it.
Healing and celebration of the spirit and heart intentions, and it's just going to be a wonderful gathering for women to connect hearts.
Yeah.
So everyone's invited. It's a free meetup, and it's awesome.
Awesome. It's just wonderful. Beautiful women that come there. I love it. And then on Wednesday night, I'm kind of working backwards next week, we have the awesome opportunity to hear Miles, who has been really teaching us how to change our reality. You know, that we are really the creator of everything that comes into our lives. So if we don't like what we are bringing into our lives, there's a way to shift that. And Miles has done a beautiful job. I just love it. I love Wednesday nights because it really inspires you. And it gives you tools, too, to use in your life, you know, in your daily spiritual practice, tools to really help you shift your consciousness. He's been studying Seth for over 45 years, and Seth was a channeled deity. And it reminds me of the Bible, though. Really, there's only one message. And that message, you know, it says in the Bible, as a man thinketh, so is he. So our thoughts are really creating our reality. So it's just another way of really consolidating what we believe. So come on Wednesday night. And then Judy has yoga here at 6 o'clock every night except Wednesday, correct?
I'm doing it Wednesday.
Oh, you're doing it Wednesday?
And that way we can stay for Miles, which we did.
Good, that's right.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk to you about something else too. And then on the first Tuesday of every month, we have Hugh, which is a chant. The name of God, it's the Eckankar Foundation, talking about how, you know, we are vibration, and when we chant this vibration, it changes everything in our body too. So we have a lot going on and a lot more that's going to get started here. So we're going to, right now, Joshua asked me a couple of weeks ago, could he have about 5 minutes to tell us something about one another. So without any more talk, I want to welcome Miles, who is going to rock your boat this morning. I know I will, because he rocks mine.
Thank you. So today I'm going to talk about new worlds. And where I want to take us is this: an understanding that we create worlds like breathing in and out every day, all day long. And it's a natural, innate ability in us. But we're so immersed in the world that we're living in that we just can't see that we literally move from world to world as we go through our day. And these worlds are our creation. So, Reba and I were speaking one day during our spiritual practices, and she heard me say that about we create our worlds. And she said, you know, I've heard you say that countless times, but I never really got it. I never really understood. So we proceeded to talk about it for a couple hours, and at the end she said, oh my God, we live in a continuous series of worlds, all of which we create. So I want to try and construct or take us through a pathway to grasp that, because the point of this is, it's already that way. This is just a matter of perspective to open us up to our natural all that isness, our natural Godhood, and how profound our creation is in every moment, in every second. So, we know that thoughts are things. Mike Dooley has brought that home to us in powerful ways. And Wayne has told us that when we change the way we think, the things we think about change. And Seth has explained succinctly that the world is created completely new from the 0 point. In other words, it's a clean slate. Millions, actually countless times a second is the way he puts it. And of course we know about the law of attraction, which tells us how vibration works. And Abraham has explained to us that we are the center of the universe. And every instant when the universe recreates itself, it is reorganized according to us as the center of the universe, according to our vibration, according to our essence. Now, when Seth explains that thoughts are things, he says we are a thought of all that is. We're not only a thought of all that is, but just like we go out to our own existence, our thoughts also go out to their own existence. And when we go back to any subject, we're going to go back to the feeling place of that subject. It's the way we're set up. We have an internal computer system that is far superior than anything that's created now or ever will be created, that always keeps track of where we are on any subject in a feeling way. Well, a feeling is a vibration, and a vibration is a point of attraction. So what we're actually doing is going back to the way we're creating the world. Now, these organizations of thoughts are called energy gestalts. And a thought goes out in its own existence and associates with other thoughts. And when you come back to a subject, the feeling and the thoughts you were about at the time now are dramatically enhanced because that thought has gone out and collected other thoughts, other insights, other perspectives that then we have access to when we go back to that subject. And it never stops. So even though we move on to our next segment of life, our next world, our thoughts do not. Our thoughts are continually out there working for us. And this becomes really important when we understand how we're creating our worlds. So let me give an example of an energy gestalt. An energy gestalt, one energy gestalt that we have is physical objects. And all these physical objects are a vibrational library that we easily choose from and create the physical world that we walk into every instant. Now, these vibrational patterns that we choose from are timeless. They form these vibrational libraries, and they're not bounded by time or space. So when other people in physical reality or in any reality have these thoughts, they're out there and also available to us in framework 2, which is our mind or non-physical. So everybody, depending on their vibrational level or the degree of their enlightenment, how high their vibration is, has access to the same information. It can't be hidden. So, how do we put our world together? So the world is created, brand new, 60 billion trillion times a second. That's quantum mechanics. From the 0 point. And let's say that in order to create our reality, a million times a second, which is a trillion, we assemble the parts and pieces that we're encountering in our world, that we're experiencing in our world. And that still means that if you did that a trillion times a second, you could be in another 60 billion trillion realities experiencing those as well. In other words, you're not limited. You are all that is right now. In our current reality, we're only experiencing a very small portion of who we are, of our awesomeness. Now, we've all said that we're creatures of habit. And we realize that there's an element of truth in this. And so we create energetic patterns in our lives according to our feelings and emotions, which we access routinely to create a world that keeps recurring in our lives. And these experiences are like dinner and driving, interacting with other people in certain ways until we get these patterns established. And until we do, it's not uncommon that we feel uncomfortable because we want to get our patterns and our habits secure. We want to understand how we're going to flow our energy. And our beliefs do that. So up to now, we've gotten away with drifting along, totally immersed in our creation, and our reality not taking any responsibility for creating our world. That official, unawake consciousness no longer works. It no longer works because the vibration of our world is expanding, raising so dramatically our world and our lives that our vibration is also expanding simultaneously. A rising tide lifts all ships. And all the veils are being pulled away, and the fog that we've been living in is revealed. Everything hidden, secret, is now coming to light in the world. So, now I've explained some of the basics, how we're creating our world. Let's explore some of those worlds. Let's take an experience like driving, which Paul was nice enough to share with us in Wednesday night class, and examine from that how we can create our reality. And for him, he explained that this experience is not only him driving, but it's a spiritual, metaphysical experience because he's using the principles that he learns here to change the way he has that experience. And specifically, he told us that when someone would cut him off in the past, he would get emotional about that. But now when someone cuts him off, he strives for a feeling of peace. And as soon as he achieves that feeling of peace, the car that initially inspired the emotion pulls out of the way. In other words, he had a mindset before that he was going to encounter difficulty driving. And now he has a mindset that I can choose peace, and what happens when I drive changes. It's its own world. We go into each one of these segments of our day with our own thoughts and preconceptions, and they're self-contained. And when you go from segment to segment, a really great idea is to set an intention for each segment of your day. Now I'm going to go to the store, or now I'm getting in my car to drive. So, what I want us to get from driving is that it's its own world, and that everything you do in your day is its own world as well. And that you're creating these worlds. There is nothing in our world, nothing that was not a thought first. It's always thought first, then expression in physical reality. So our thoughts are creating these worlds. Now, we can call these worlds mindsets or organizations of thoughts. Our world is a mindset, an organization of thought. And every time we change our segment, we're changing our mindset and stepping into a new world. Now, let's take a look at another one. So Reva's a great cook, and when she walks through the door of the kitchen, she's switching to another energetic channel of existence which she taps into through her mindset and her feelings. In other words, she goes to that last feeling place. That's like tuning to a channel on your radio. And that's where she starts to flow her energy. And in that reality, things change radically. So she's not thinking about something before or something after. She's actually listening to the food, the herbs that she uses. And because she's a gourmet cook, she has an innate sense of how to do this. And so she's never made the same meal twice, even though she might be following the same recipe, because she's listening to the food that she's using and what she eats. And so now she makes a meal according to her instincts, her feelings, her flow. It's simply amazing. So that's one of the many worlds that she puts herself in. How does she do this? Well, she's had many wonderful experiences cooking in her life, so she can easily access them, easily access the feelings of being creative and successful. And these experiences and thoughts and feelings are organized inside of her like those energy gestalts that I talked about. They're all there. They're right there, easily accessible. And the more you access them, the easier it is. And furthermore, they're constantly working for her, so that when she comes back, she'll get new insights, new inspirations, new ideas. So it's constant evolution of the creative process as she's tuning into a good place and tapping into her connection to all that is and the flow that naturally comes from that. Now, let's say that she had an experience such as, well, the blender's not working properly. So what happens then? Well, if you don't expect that blender to work properly and you have sort of a feeling inside of you, oh darn, I hope this thing doesn't go, it's going to go. If your feeling is strong enough, but even if your feeling is not strong enough, the universe is going to deliver another experience that's going to confirm the essence of who you are. It's going to confirm your feeling, which is a feeling of, say, dread. And what happens? Well, you go to the refrigerator, you pull out the spinach, and it's wilted. Or you go to use your herbs, and the herbs aren't there, or there's not enough. Because the universe is always going to match your vibrational place. So, the point is that Reba is always creating the essence of her feelings, just like all of us. So, countless times a day we're stepping into the worlds we have created. Worlds that we have created with our thoughts and feelings, often very different from each other. And we do this with great ease, seamlessly, and we seldom ever notice. Just like you don't tell your body how to act or how to function, and yet your body functions beautifully. Because this reality is so immersive, we think that it's all happening outside of us. When the truth is that all of it is happening inside of us first, and then we're meeting or encountering our creations outside of us in physical reality. So, when you go through your week this week, be aware of the many worlds that you're walking into, that you're actually creating. You, as the creator, are creating these worlds, these realities. And you can even set up an experiment. You can set an intention to be happy in those worlds when you walk into them. And when you come from an essence, from an innate feeling, connection within inside yourself of being happy, you will transform all the worlds that you walk into. And you will find that people will be happy to see you, and you will be surprised, amazed, delighted by the worlds that you encounter as you go through your day. Now, the next thing I want to do is focus on how we build our realities, our worlds. And we do this in two ways. First, as Mary Lou mentioned, we get what we focus on, what we think on. There is no other main rule. We're all that is. We flow energy. We can't stop it. And whatever we turn our focus to is what we're creating. So, be clear that in each moment, what you're creating is what you're feeling inside, your essence. Second, we get what we believe. Or said another way, we get what we expect. In our reality, beliefs rule. And what is a belief? A belief is simply a thought that we keep having over and over. And what about our feelings? Our feelings are a direct result of our beliefs. If we believe something's bad, we feel bad, don't we? And if we believe something's good, it lifts us up. It makes us feel higher. Beliefs come first, and then feelings. I have a little note here, check the time. Because I can get carried away. So, here's a powerful tool. Think about something that excites us, that brings us great joy, and put yourself in the feeling place of that, and make time to really revel in it. In other words, create 2 or 3 minutes, or even 5 minutes. But before you do that, have a set of questions that you would like clarity on. Because when you put yourself in that good feeling place, you're directly connecting yourself to your all that isness. That's who you are inside the deepest level. And then bring up your questions, looking for clarity, one at a time. And you'll be astounded at the results and the clarity you achieve in a remarkably fast manner. Now, this is a bit of a balancing act. So if you find yourself getting pulled away by your emotions again and pulled out of your connection to your inner spirit, feeling good, then move on to your next question, or find a way to get back to your connected place. And what you might have to do is think about that particular question later by itself and see if you can get some insights. So, let's go back to building our realities. We can explore other worlds. We can, for instance, put ourselves in the place of a migrating warbler. During our annual migration, me as a warbler, I'm a small bird, just a few inches high, weigh about 6 ounces. And I'm starting in Texas, and I'm flying to Florida. An amazing number of migrating byways go over Fort DeSoto, because it's the farthest point west in Florida on the mainland. And so I've just made a 1,000-mile trip. My weight's gone down from 6 ounces to 4 ounces. And literally, when I land on the tarmac there in Fort DeSoto, I'm exhausted. And say somebody is visiting the park that day, and they come up to me, and I'm standing there, I'm almost shaking. She just used 1/3 of her body weight to make this trip. And I or she is trying to collect ourselves, and we see this person standing on the path that is literally over 20 times bigger than I am, taller, and almost 1,000 times heavier. And they whip their phone out of their back pocket and go, I'm going to get a picture for Facebook. But in the meantime, I'm standing on the ground, and I'm looking at this giant coming at me. And if I had the energy, I would fly away. But I don't. I just flew 1,000 miles on my own, and I'm trying to get myself back together. So, there's a couple of points here. You can see clearly you have no trouble putting yourself in the place of that warbler and what the warbler is experiencing from that huge mass that's coming at him, getting a good Facebook picture. So if animals are not doing what they would normally do, fly away, give them some space, because you don't know what they've been through, what they're doing, what they've gone through. And it is possible to put yourself in the place of virtually everything else. And it's literally the first inner sense in the 9 inner senses. Now, I want to go next to an experience that Reba's going to be having. So she's at a 3-day symposium on butterflies and dragonflies and other really important stuff. So she volunteered to help the scientist. So she is going to tag monarch butterflies from our garden. But now, think of her responsibility. She loves these butterflies. And she's going to be holding a butterfly in her hand. And she is responsible for the welfare of this beautiful sacred creature. And she's got to put a tag on it. Wow, that's a lot of responsibility. And for those of us, and I did a little bit of birding when I was in college and helped the professor. And when you would hold a small bird in your hand, like a hummingbird or sparrow, you can feel their heart. And their heart will go 300 or 400 times a minute. And sometimes they'll just faint. They'll faint in your hand. And the first time it happens, of course, you think, oh my God.
I killed it.
Yeah, but no, you didn't kill it. And it comes back. But it's an interesting experience holding another life in your hands. And it's something that you can relate to on a profound level. So, back again to how we create our realities, our worlds. So, Reba decided she wanted to have a butterfly garden. And it didn't just happen. She said, I'm going to have a butterfly garden, then it sprung up outside our window. So she read books, she went online, she attended university classes, seminars, workshops like she's at now. And slowly, one step at a time, one plant at a time, she planted and nurtured a garden, a butterfly garden. Now much of it, to normal people, looks like weeds, because butterflies use a lot of weeds. And it's like that baseball field they built in the movie A Field of Dreams. Build it and they will come. And so it is. Now when we sit down to eat, we look out the window and we're entertained by a bevy of butterflies. They are just all over. They're so beautiful. There's such a wide variety because she got weeds and plants from all over. So it's beautiful and breathtaking. It raises our spirits and our vibration, and every time brings us closer to our all that isness, to our Godhood. So can we be clear that this is a world that Reba built, first in her mind, with her imagination and her thoughts, and then physically with her hands in the dirt, following her inspiration, and people coming up and offering to give her another plant or another piece of advice about how to work with the butterflies? So now I'm going to talk about the world we're going to move into in 4th and 5th density that we've got coming up. And the reason I'm going to do this is to give us some patterns. Because the more we think on the end pattern, the easier it'll be to go through the trials and tribulations as we disassemble the reality that we're in. The secrets become revealed, and we move towards the next reality that we're going to experience. Now, we're not alone in this. Other worlds in our galaxy have made this transition. So there are energy gestalts out there that we can tap into for this transition. But what is it we're going to build that's so breathtakingly beautiful over the next 13 years? 13, 15, as we go first to 3rd density and then to 4th density. So the first and most important characteristic and the foundation of all the others is that we are going to be directly connected to all that is. We're going to be constantly aware that we are all that is and that we are love. Because that's really important. And then an inherent part of that is that we're going to be telepathic. And because that's the case, there are going to be no secrets. And because there's no secrets, there'll be no illness and no disease. But because we're coming from a place of love, there'll be no military, no police, no laws, no legal system, no prisons, no government, no money. You'll do exactly what you want to do, and you'll have whatever you need provided. No doctors, no medicine, because there'll be no illness and no disease.
No funeral parlors.
There'll be no educational system.
Yay.
At about the age of 3, a child will make up its mind who it wants for a mentor, and then it'll begin to live its life in cooperation with that person that you would call a mentor. And it will make many changes during the course of its life. But we're not going to herd them together and have other young, immature people setting a standard of behavior and how to live their lives as an example. They'll be connected to the real world and to real people and to adults. And that is a radically different experience than determining how you're going to act by how another 13-year-old dresses. We'll be identifying with the soul as eternal. We'll realize we are the world that we're creating in the moment. We'll realize every probability exists and we get to choose. There'll be no separation. We'll feel a sense of oneness with all things. We'll have a knowing that we are all that is. We'll know that we are loved and worthy, and it is taken for granted. We'll know our perfection in every moment, and we'll take that for granted as well. We'll live in a state of peace, harmony, and happiness. And your state will not depend on any outside circumstances. And will live in that state of happiness in the now with no waiting for anything, including happiness to happen. We'll only live in the present moment. And we'll have an internal navigation system, we'll call it the GPS, but it'll no longer be centered in the mind. It'll be heart-centered. Because the mind is simply too limited to grasp the depth of what we're talking about here. There won't be any more judgment. In fact, judgment won't exist. There'll be no upsetness because there is an absence of hurt, fear, shame, doubt, anger, depression. We lovingly embrace all of who we are, our wholeness. And there'll be a timeless sensation with events we experience, and there's a flow from one event to another by association, not by time. So it's by free association, and we'll sense that life is flowing through us. And we'll think things, and they will be. And we'll live like there are no hows, because there are no hows. Hows are cause and effect. And cause and effect only exists in a state of time, and there is no time. We'll live in the now, the spacious present. And our awareness is a point of consciousness in an ocean of consciousness, and we'll be aware of both. Being of service will be natural, and we'll live with the knowledge of our Akash, which is our past and our future lives. So, the reason I went through that list is, think on these things. As you think on those things, they will go out and go to work for you. And then, slowly but surely, step by step, over the intervening years, we will start to move into that reality. Think on things about love. Think on things about peace. Think on things about happiness. Think on the things where people don't have to be afraid because they'll be coming from a place of love. Think on the things where you don't have to have secrets from anybody. Usually the people you love are the first people you have secrets from, and then other people as well, the people you work with, the people you meet, but no secrets. And secrets are an underlying confirmation of our not enoughness that cause us to feel dis-ease. And there won't be dis-ease because we'll be transparent. So with that, I'll end it and open it up for questions.
Awesome. We were just enjoying it so much.
That's okay. I always clap for myself anyway. Yes, Paul?
Well, first a very quick story and then a quick question. So this morning, driving here, I'm a little late, had a feeling I left the house later than I wanted to. I'm driving along, there's a car in front of me, the row of cars in front of me, I don't think I'm going to get through that. I look to my left, and there's a white van. And an empty space right in front of them, right? Didn't get upset, just noticed it, looked at it, said, okay, what are the other alternatives? Scanned around, looked back. It was only a second, 1 second. Looked, there's this van, looked around, came back, there's no van. Where'd the van go? And I looked around, there's a van behind me. There could not have been enough time for that to have happened. It was a change of reality because I allowed it to be. And my question for you, you said in the next 13 to 15 years,
Yeah.
this will all happen?
Yes.
That's exciting because I'll be here.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere.
Really? 15 years?
So it'll all start to happen, and we'll be well into that process. And in fact, in about 8 years, we'll be through the most challenging parts, and then sort of be downhill after that, easily moving into a new reality, which we all will find a great deal more joy in, because we won't have the stress and the anxiety that our society naturally engenders right now.
Anybody else have questions? Or comment, share?
Paul's the advanced scout for us.
Yeah.
I was just going to add, talking about damning her, Mary Lou, where are you?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right there. Actually, what's interesting about them coming, and I thought I'd add this because it applies, what's interesting is the Davenport community is living a lot of that. They're trying a whole different way of living cooperation and mutual respect. And they do it in such, let's say, a higher consciousness way. I mean, to go through the temples of humanity in this mountain is like this unbelievable experience. And they actually guide you through the journey of humanity as far as how it's related to the heavens. I mean, it's phenomenal. Like, you'd have to see the pictures to understand it, because I can't describe what these artisans have done. But it's a much bigger purpose. They're trying to show people how we can do it differently in the altered states of consciousness. And they actually live this way. And it's working for them. So that's another point of their visit here, which is really an unusual experience to get this information, also to tap into some of the elements of what you were just talking about. How do we actually live, in that present moment, creating the reality, because we all have the choice to do so, and we all are very powerful beings.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you, Miles. You always have extraordinary stuff. You.
So, I was thinking that when Mary Lou was speaking earlier myself, when she was talking about Davenport, what a golden opportunity to connect with the real thing, because it's not what people say to you. It's not what people try and quote-unquote teach you. It's about their living, breathing example of how they're actually living their life.
Right.
That's so very important and gives you all the space you need to live your life your way. And that's a secret as well.
Anybody else have questions or comments that they want to make? No? Well, I thought it was incredible, Miles, and I think you're so right. The Bible says it this way. It says, is there anything good, anything of good report? Think on these things. And it never tells us to think on the negative. It always tells us to think on the things that are going to bring forth the reality that we really want to create. So I think all of these masters and teachers and channels are teaching us the same thing. That was just beautiful. Thank you so much, Maya.